A huge series win for the Toronto Blue Jays, but things get heated in Cleveland. Oh boy, we got to talk about that. Plus, the absolutely outstanding performance of Kevin Gausman.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem code LOCKEDON MLB. That's Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Brayden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5E Wasco, Carter First too, as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. And if you haven't followed us already on Instagram or TikTok, at Locked On Blue Jays on both of those. And hit the subscribe button if you're new here to YouTube. It really does help us out. Might as well. It is free, so just hit it. It's not that hard. Anyway, and if you're listening anywhere else, we appreciate that too. Lot to get into from today's game, this series as a whole. Couple of the main things we'll get into, obviously, the sort of heated arguments or sort of back and forth between the Jays and the Guardians revolving around Vladimir Guerrero Jr. being beamed for the second time in this series. As well, Kevin Gausman has an outstanding performance and a series preview heading into the weekend. Carter, I think let's just kick things off. This is probably what everybody wants to hear about a little bit. So Vladdy does get beamed, takes a ball right off of the inside of his right arm, or his right arm, I guess it would be, and goes out of the ball game. And he's pretty upset. He's pretty mad. Fair enough. He goes and runs the bases, but then doesn't go back out there for the next inning. He gets taken out. He goes for x-rays. Everything's all clear. No fracture. So good signs on that. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. shouldn't miss time. Maybe he misses a game just in case of the contusion, how his arm's feeling, but it's nothing serious. So that's good to see. Kevin Gausman then goes back out the next inning like an absolute beauty, and bases are open for Jose Ramirez. And Kevin Gausman does what I think any pitcher would do in this situation, you'd hope, is that after seeing your superstar be hit twice in 2 games, and it's not, I don't think it was intentional. It seemed like they were running the fastball in, and Vladdy has struggled at points with a fastball in, so they were trying to run a fastball in, and they thought with a base open, if they hit him and it runs too far, they hit him and it runs too far, and whatever. And as a pitcher, you have to be able to shut that down. You can't let that keep happening and more guys get hit. So Kevin Gausman goes out there and does exactly what he has to. He throws a ball belt high to Jose Ramirez, and Jose Ramirez drops his arm. And that's why it gets him in the right arm. If that pitch was a completely fine in location for a hit batter that, it's just a message sender. It's nothing crazy. You're not headhunting a guy. You're not going for a dangerous spot. It was a perfectly pitch, hit batter by Kevin Gausman. Jose Ramirez, totally understandable. He goes down, gets his base. But then again, same thing with Vlad. He ends up leaving the game. He goes to get x-rays. He's fine as well. And then in the midst of that inning, the Cleveland Guardians manager, Carter, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Stephen Vogt,
yeah. And goes out and starts giving John Schneider lip from across the diamond. The umps have to get sort of in between him and the Blue Jays dugout. And that's sort of where things end. It didn't really carry on, but could this be something that goes on further throughout the year of if a pitcher or players get mad or coaches get mad or umps, have to step in between? We don't see this very often from a Toronto Blue Jays team, but I think it was a perfect response from Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, I loved every single second of it. I think that's exactly what you got to do in that situation. Vladdy gets hit the day before, and that one, there's probably not anything there. It was in the 8th inning. It's a tie ball game. Doesn't really make sense to hit him there. With, like you said, Vladdy gets hit in this game. I don't think it was by design necessarily, but they're definitely trying to go inside, like you said, with that sinker. And when you do have first base open, there's a runner on second in this instance. We have first base open, and it is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You're trying to throw him inside anyway. Like you said, he has struggled, especially with the inside fastball. At times this year has been late pretty consistently this year. So pitchers are trying to get him with that inside fastball, trying to keep him late on that ball, but you have that base open. It did make a lot of sense for you to kind of go inside. And if you hit him, you hit him. There's an open base. It kind of is what it is. So I think you have to do that. If you don't send a message after your star player gets hit, you're pretty much saying, hey, you can come in as far as you want inside. We're not going to have a response. We're not going to do anything. Even if you do hit the best player in our franchise, going to probably go down as one of the best players in franchise history. So I think that's exactly what you got to do. It was funny when Stephen Vogt goes out there and says, oh, you got him high, you got him on the elbow, you got him on the elbow. The pitch was just above belt height. Like you said, kind of drops the arm a little bit. Was the Kevin Gausman throwing out Jose Ramirez intentional? Absolutely it was. 100% chance that was a set play that was designed. Like, there could have been some cause for maybe him getting kicked out, maybe the John Schneider, Kevin Gausman getting kicked out. There wasn't any warnings, but it was a very obvious thing that it was an eye for an eye. You know, you're going to hit our superstar, we're going to go and hit your superstar. So I think that is exactly what you got to do in that situation. No matter who you are as a baseball team, you got to protect your star players in any sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there was the warnings after the fact of the Gausman, after Gausman hits Jose Ramirez. And that's fair. I think as an umpiring crew, I think it would have been a little bit crazy to kick Gausman out for that. I think that is a good response. It wasn't like he was headhunting Jose Ramirez. If that's the case, you see that first pitch go up near the head, maybe you kick him out then. But I think this was handled in the perfect way you can. And you know what? There's going to be people on Twitter and whatever calling for this isn't a part of the game. This is absolutely a part of the game. It's, to me, getting hit by a pitch and in this scenario is a lot like fighting in hockey. There is a reason that it's in the game and that it's been allowed up to this point, because if you don't have a response here, more guys in your team could get hit by pitches in hockey. If there are bad hits that are thrown and you don't respond with a guy dropping the mitts, well, they're just going to keep taking liberties on you and throwing big hits, throwing hits in the corner, maybe from behind, whatever it may be. These are all components of the game. And it is up for argument. There are people that probably will have valid points when it comes to this. You don't want to see players get injured. Fair enough. But I think for the majority of this, Carter, I mean, I've been hit by a few. You've probably been hit by a few intentionally in your time playing. It sucks. But also in certain parts of games, you understand as a player, all right, we probably had this one coming. So you can't get overly mad. And you know what? Huge hat tips to Jose Ramirez. He took it like a champ. He understands that it was the part of the game. He knew he dropped his elbow. So I got no complaints with Jose Ramirez there.
Well, and also the way it kind of worked out, it was perfectly an eye for an eye because the updates were the exact same on both sides of the ball. The Toronto Blue Jays update was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was removed from today's game with a right forearm contusion, underwent x-rays, and came back with negative results for a fracture. So he did not have any serious injury. That's the exact same thing, copy and pasted. It's just Jose Ramirez. Okay, they take him out of the game, negative with the fractures. So it was more of a day-to-day thing. So it couldn't have worked out better. Your superstar is out for your team. Our superstar is out for our team. Let's just continue playing baseball. And you can see right away, Jose Ramirez kind of gave like the calm down hands, like put his hands up to the sides, like, hey, let's not make this anything more than it is.
Yeah.
I understand it's the baseball game. And luckily or unluckily for the Toronto Blue Jays, that was the last game against the Cleveland Guardians. So if somehow, I don't think there was, but somehow there was any animosity, it's only going to come out in the playoffs if they have a series against the Cleveland Guardians. So that is kind of how it's going to be for the rest of the season. We'll see if there's any other instances quite like this, but you brought it up already. This isn't really a typical Blue Jays thing. You don't see them, throwing at hitters. You don't see them kind of starting to try to like ruffle some feathers and get some excitement in baseball games like that. You get the odd, Pete Walker, John Schneider kick out once in a while, but nothing really like that. But yeah, credit to John Schneider, credit to Kevin Gausman, credit to everyone who was involved in that decision, because that's exactly how you got to attack that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked about it a ton. My favorite player is Josh Donaldson. You know that I like when players do get fired up and do get really into the game, and not necessarily hitting batters, but when the intensity and the emotion comes into the game, I love that. So
when Vladdy got hit as well, sorry to interrupt, but you could see like he was not happy. Like your star player was pissed off in that situation. You have to do something, or like if instances like that keep happening to Vladdy, keep happening to Bo, they'll lose a lot of faith in their manager and just in their baseball team, like having them for their baseball team, just having their back in tough instances like that.
Yeah. And there aren't too many pitchers that will go in there and won't throw at a guy if they need to, but there are the odd guy that, really doesn't like being the catalyst to throwing at somebody. And it probably wasn't like Kevin Gausman was like, oh, I'm just going to go up here and do this and nobody talked to him. There was probably a conversation in the dugout that was happening that said, hey, this guy comes up in this situation, go for it, let it eat. And so good on Kevin Gausman being willing to hit a guy. I know there are some pitchers that don't do that.
What would be awesome if it was like Kevin Gausman's decision. He's just like, it wasn't planned whatsoever. Kevin Gausman just went up. It's like, hey, you're going to hit my boy. You're going to hit Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Are you kidding me? I'm going right after Ramirez. I don't care what anybody says. So maybe that's the spin zone that we got to create for this podcast. Is that it was just Kevin Gausman was the mastermind behind this plan for this Blue Jays team.
Yeah, we might have to. Kevin Gausman, what a great day. Not only in that scenario, but obviously throughout the entire game. The guy goes 8 innings, only allows 2 hits, 6 Ks, only 1 walk as well. Really dialing in the command, understanding the counts he was in. It was really, really good to watch. Also amazing for my fantasy team. He put me up 29 points. So I'll take that for sure. This is the issue though, what I had before. And I don't want to downplay this game at all, but it's been a weird season for Kevin Gausman. He has outings where you think, wow, he is back. This was awesome. And then he has games where there are a little bit of blow-ups. And you're like, goodness, should we be worried? And I think I don't know what to attest this one to. Did he just find his stuff? It looked like the pitches were a lot tighter today than in the couple games prior. And I know that he has been working on that stuff throughout the season of trying to, he's even talked about it with his splitter grip, understanding that if he holds the ball a little tighter to the seams, he can get that to drop a little bit tighter with his index finger. He can get that to sort of get that movement back, more a downward movement. And so it could be that. But Carter, are you at all worried that this is just the happenings of a not great hitting Cleveland Guardians team? Or is this, to you, a sign that Kevin Gausman could be figuring things out? I'm on the side of Kevin Gausman could be figuring things out because I did see the changes within the pitches themselves, but I'll throw it to you.
I think if anything, you have to be more on that side because the command was there. That's been the biggest thing for Kevin Gausman. Has had multiple walks in all 4 of his appearances before this game. Really honed that in. A lot of it was like mechanical issue. A lot of them were like arm side misses with his splitter. I found we had that horizontal thing where his splitter was going left and right rather than up and down. So a lot of the time it was going to that arm side and was missing the strike zone. So the command was there today. Like there hasn't been velocity problems all year with Kevin Gausman. Again, in this game, touching 98 at times, throwing 96, 97 consistently on the black. And like we always say, like that fastball is going to help set up so many other pitches. So when he is in command of that fastball, the splitter is going to be a whole lot better. The slider is going to look a whole lot better. And that's exactly how it went for Kevin Gausman. The Cleveland Guardians don't have the greatest offense of all time, but like you said, Kevin Gausman has looked really good in some games. And then in other stretches, in other games, it looks like he's kind of completely lost it. So it's Kevin Gausman is on the right track, but we have seen a lot of lack of consistency, honestly, with this entire starting rotation, really, other than Berrios and Chris Bassitt. So I'm on more so on the fence that Kevin Gausman is starting to figure it out and is starting to get better, but it all really latches on how is Kevin Gausman's command day to day in the starts.
Yeah, exactly. That's nail on the head. And I hope that we don't have to keep having the conversation of, is Kevin Gausman back? Oh, is he falling off? Is he back? I hope he can figure this out for a bit of a stretch, and this would be a time to do so. When you're in the hunt for a playoff spot or in a playoff spot right now, and trying to keep your head above water. You need your pitchers to be good. And I think with the return of Max Scherzer, obviously we saw some good things out of him. Nothing has come out yet. Yesterday, I guess, as you guys listening to this, yesterday it's
all positive.
It's all positive in regards to Max Scherzer. So that is another big thing to take away from all of this. I know me and Carter brought it up on yesterday's episode talking about, would we see it the next day? Now, don't get me wrong. There's still quite a bit of days till his next start. But I think for first day removed, this is a good thing. So I think if you can see this pitching staff really start to click and again, as a unit, I think that is a huge, huge help to this team. Carter, I'll let you respond on the other side, just how your thoughts on Max Scherzer, Kevin Gausman, the pitching staff in general. Obviously, we got to get into the inning where the Blue Jays scored the 3 runs, so that sort of carried them throughout this ball game, and a little bit on Chad Green in the 9th inning as well. But we'll come back with all that right after this short break. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to the ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's a game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. Trust me, for Jets games or when we were down in Toronto or when I was in New York, it was always Game Time. That's the only thing I use because it is the cheapest. It is the best way to get last minute tickets without hassle or we're trying to worry about, is this person actually going to send me the tickets or whatever? No, Game Time really does make it easy. And that's why I will not buy tickets on any other site. with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it all possible. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, obviously. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So, Carter, continuing on here, obviously, just with the way that this pitching staff is looking, obviously the response from 1 day removed from Max Scherzer's outing. How are you feeling with the pitching staff as a whole right now?
It's definitely getting better, but I wouldn't say I'm confident whatsoever right now with the starting rotation. And I'm confident when Chris Bassitt goes out there, and I'm confident when Jose Berrios goes out there. Kevin Gausman, you can kind of tell right away with this stuff. It depends on how his command is. Max Scherzer, some question marks, but after what he said, he says he feels physically good. He says he feels better than he has in a very long time physically, and we haven't seen any concerns coming the next day. So I think Max Scherzer should be on track to make that next start. It's just we need him to eat up innings. We need a lot of these starting pitchers to eat innings. That is going to be how this team is successful in the long run, especially with how their bullpen usage has kind of gone. A lot of these guys are slightly overworked. Nothing too crazy. They have still been managing it, but it definitely helps when you get some length out of your starting pitching consistently. And you don't have to eat 5-6 innings because your starting pitchers kind of blow up on what kind of seemed like a daily basis at the start of the season. But excited for Max Scherzer. Excited to see Kevin Gausman get that swing and miss, be in the strike zone, 77 strikes, 27 balls. Like he's in the strike zone about 75% of the time. That's when Kevin Gausman is going to be his best. But we've talked a lot about the pitching. I'll quickly throw it over to you if you want to talk about Chad Green. I mean, you're up 6-0. That's where I want to use Chad Green. Well, that's the situation right there. So
exactly. And it's not much about Chad Green himself. It's more the fact that Kevin Gausman ate you 8 innings at a time where your bullpen is looking a little bit beaten up, and you could use an off day for some of these guys to get sort of this pitching staff back together. And that was a perfect way to end this series and move on to the next one with almost your entire staff ready to go for the next game. So those 8 inning starts, I mean, you can't ask for that all the time, but in the odd time where you can get them, man, does that ever help out your bullpen totally.
Well, and the Blue Jays, just looking at the schedule as well, they do not have an off day until July 10th. So getting kind of ahead of it early when you got 2 weeks of baseball ahead of you and no off days whatsoever, it's definitely nice to get 8 innings from Kevin Gausman for multiple reasons. Just because Kevin Gausman's been struggling and also just the workload of the bullpen. And if your pitcher goes 8 innings, probably means it went pretty well for your baseball team. And that is one of the reasons why the Toronto Blue Jays did win a series against the Cleveland Guardians. So there is a couple innings that I do want to talk about. I guess we'll start with the inning. Kind of just had a ton of chaos and which is madness where the Jays score 3 runs. Just the way that this inning kind of unfolded was just absolutely hilarious. And when it's kind of one of those things where things were going well, things were falling, and they just continue to go well for the Toronto Blue Jays. John Nicklaus single in center field with just a swing. The ball hits the end of the bat. Tyler Heidemann hit by a pitch, just absolutely gritty. You'll love to see that from Tyler Heidemann. Miles Straw, sacrifice bunt, a good bunt up the first base line. Kyle Manzardo just absolutely boots it. Pretty bad play by him there. Nathan Lucas, just a battle at bat. Absolutely love to see it. After we kind of said that he hasn't been as good as he has been recently in this last little bit of a stretch, but still confident in Nathan Lucas, and that's exactly why, because he has at-bats like that. Battle back from 0-2, fouled off a couple pitches, and then drills a sweeper into right field. And then Tanner Bybee tries to pick off Miles Straw at third base. And Kyle Manzardo, there's nothing wrong with the throw. Very good throw. I don't think they have him out, but Kyle Manzardo just drops the ball, kind of boots it again up the first base line. And then we have, that was Nathan Lucas. Trying to pick up Nathan Lucas. Miles Straw was the guy that came home. That's why they got it on track now. Miles Straw, the guy that comes home. Kyle Manzardo picks up the ball. I think Bo Naylor looks at Miles Straw, looks at Kyle Manzardo, and he's like, okay, he's scoring. I think that's the only thing that makes sense to me, that he thinks there's no chance that they're going to get Miles Straw at the plate because he's not even looking at Kyle Manzardo. Manzardo throws the ball. It goes over his head. They charge the error to Kyle Manzardo. So 3 errors for Kyle Manzardo in that inning. Just an absolute crapshoot, but definitely went the Toronto Blue Jays' way. A fun inning to watch. Very entertaining.
Very fun inning to watch. And I think that is Bo Naylor's error, but hey, whatever. It's fine. I don't care. However, the Blue Jays score is great to me. And don't get me wrong. I think if that inning doesn't happen, I don't think the offense was amazing today. But in some games, this is the stuff you need to happen, right? You got to take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. And, sometimes you don't see that happen with this ball club. in this instance, they took advantage of all the errors that were given to them. And that really helps you win a ball game, especially when you have Kevin Gausman throwing eight scoreless innings on you. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's the absolute best offensive win of all time, but you do what you need to do and you get the job done. So from an offense, it's been pretty good lately. I can't complain with a 6-0 victory, especially, even if they weren't at their absolute best today.
Yeah, I just want to throw in this as well. Shout out to Nathan Lucas when he sees Bo Naylor just not even attempt to go for the baseball. He also advances to second base. The offense, I don't think it looked that good today in totality. I don't think a lot of the at-bats were that good. Tanner Bybee kind of operated on this team a little bit. You do have a ton of insurance runs in the ninth inning, which definitely helps. But it was a pitching duel. It was Kevin Gausman took over that baseball game, even though we were up 3-0. I don't even think we needed those runs in the ninth inning the way things were going. You probably don't throw Chad Green if it's only 3-0, but you had everyone at your disposal. Could have been Jeff Hoffman, could have been Yariel Rodriguez. You had a lot of different options and just the feel of the game. Like sometimes in these games, like it feels like the Toronto Blue Jays, maybe their offense isn't necessarily going well. It feels like when their pitchers go out, like nobody can get a zero whatsoever. Today, it felt like the Cleveland Guardians just weren't going to do damage to anyone. It was mostly Kevin Gausman, obviously, and he was absolutely dialed out there, but that felt like a vintage Kevin Gausman start. Yeah, shout out to the offense for battling, scoring 6 runs. Like, we'll take 6 runs any day of the week. And when you don't have your best stuff, kind of the same idea we have with the pitchers. Pitchers going to go out there and not have their best stuff every single day. It's a lot easier to be more consistent as a hitter. I think that is a fair statement. But there's going to be peaks and valleys in the season. You're not always going to have your eye. You're not always going to be seeing the pitcher as well as you want to. So shout out to just this entire lineup for battling, especially when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. exits the game in the third inning.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I think defensively, this team was solid. Anything that needed to happen this game was just happening, right? You saw Miles Straw sort of diving play in the outfield. It was a nice play. I don't think it was, the best play of all time, but Miles Straw was an absolute dog in that game. And you got to give him his props this season. He has been a solid piece in, relief for Daulton Varsho being out. So huge shout out, Miles Straw. Nathan Lucas as well, Carter. Yeah, we were sort of, I don't want to say dogging him, but we just said that he was going through a little bit of a dry spell here. And
he had like a 600 OPS in the last 15 games. Like that's not great, but he's had competitive at bats, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, and he gets jobs done today. So, and works. So that's all you need from a guy like that right now with a couple injuries to this Toronto Blue Jays team. So great series win overall, Carter. I mean, I'm just sort of thrilled about it because realistically, you look back at all these games and you look and say, well, this could have been a sweep. And I think that would have been huge. But at the end of the day, you get the series win at least. I said that's what my major worry was, is that you weren't going to go out there and, after dropping a game 2 in a way you did, to go out there and bounce back and get this win. And you know what? This is something I've said all season long with this team, is that they really don't work off of momentum or the negative momentum. It is just completely day-to-day baseball that you don't know what team you're going to get on a day-to-day fashion. They don't let the day before beat them up, or they don't get too high off the day before. So I think that is an overall good thing for this team, is they show the ability to brush games off, right? Because I think you come off that game 2 and you might be a little upset that you weren't able to secure that win. But instead of doing that, Kevin Gausman goes out there and is a dog. Your offense scores 6 runs in a game that they probably shouldn't have. And you get the series win. I think overall, this is a very, very solid end to this series.
Yeah, when you're going to complain about a series win against a team that's probably going to be competing for a playoff spot in the AL. Now you made the season series 3-3. The tiebreaker, I'm not sure how that's going to work out down the road. I think it will come down to the division games, maybe. Again, depends how the standings do work out. So we won't worry about that right now, like in the middle of the season. Let's just focus on winning baseball games. But there is one more thing I do want to talk about, and it kind of is that first inning, and it's on the defensive side of the ball. So Steven Kwan, pretty much every at-bat this guy's ever going to have, especially in the first inning, he's going to see 7, 8, 9 pitches. That's just how it is. Unfortunately, he's got to be ready for that. But Steven Kwan has a pretty good swing on a tough pitch by Gausman, hits it to left field. Jonathan Clase, I think live, I could tell that he didn't catch that ball, but did a pretty good job at faking it, obviously, because the umpire did call it an out on the field. But then Jonathan Clase sees that Kwan's still going to second base. Like, I think a lot of players knew that the ball would hit the ground. So he sees Kwan rounding first base, gets to second base. He kind of goes like this, like shows the ball to the umpire, sees the out call, and then sees Steven Kwan running to second base. That's why he throws that baseball. But the ruling on the field was that because the outfielder continued his action, Kwan was ruled safe at second. If you're an outfielder and you see the umpire says, hey, yeah, you caught that ball, that's an out, you're not going to have urgency throwing to second base.
Yeah.
It's an out. That's what the umpires showed you right in front of you. So it's just kind of a reactionary thing, an instinct. Clase probably knew he didn't catch the ball, but still sees the umpire calling the out, sees Kwan rounding, too late of a throw, and they keep Kwan at second base, which is the problem that I have here. You should probably have him at first base because, just like I said, if the umpire says, hey, that ball's in play, that's a fair ball, Clase's probably going to get the ball into second a lot quicker than he did. He's going to throw it in right away rather than showing the umpire he has the baseball, kind of taking his little bit more time to get that ball into second base. So I think that was a bad call on the umpire's part to play Steven Kwan at second base rather than be at first, because the umpire kind of screwed the Jays over a little bit there. Didn't end up mattering, but I thought that was just a very weird way that it ended up folding out for this baseball game.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I sort of forgot about the play there, and it was something I wanted to talk about because it is an interesting play. I do see it from both sides, to be honest. I see it from the fact that, hey, if that ball's not caught, it's Steven Kwan. He's probably trying to round second on that play, sees an opportunity, takes it. In the same sense, from the Blue Jays perspective, hey, I caught the ball. There was an out call. It should be from the time of the call, not the continuation of the play. So I agree with you, but I'm also not a rules official. I don't know the MLB rule book inside and out. And so whatever, again, it didn't go back to hurt the Jays, but in a different ball game, if a play like that happens, And I guess it's good it happened in this game so it doesn't come back to burn them. And now, okay, we know the rule. If there's the out call, just, don't do anything. Just chill out. But I think if that were a playoff game and something like that happened, I think you'd see a lot of fans up in arms right now. So good thing it was now, and people now understand the rule and will probably see this play. Just a tough one overall, but yeah, weird one for sure, Carter.
Well, as a baseball player, you're trying, no matter if you caught the ball or not, you're trying to sell it as a catch. Even if there's the replay, that probably will get overturned if it's obvious. It doesn't matter. You're still trying to put on the act because you're trying to win. If you're not kind of cheating a little bit, you're not trying. That's why they say that is the saying. But if I'm out and if I'm Jonathan Clase and I'm in the outfield and I see the umpire put up that out sign, I'm like, oh, well, I got the out. Perfect. Why would I just absolutely hum a throw to second base when I don't need to do that? So maybe Kwan does get there if the umpire, again, makes the right call. But as soon as you make a mistake as an umpire, I think you do have to take control and kind of butt in a little bit more than you obviously want to in that instance. But then just also Nathan Lucas making a nice jumping catch at the wall, drops the ball in the transfer, and the Cleveland Guardians fans go absolutely insane. So that was just kind of funny as well. And just Steven Kwan as well, when he got to third base, I thought this was interesting as well. I wanted to quickly get your take on it. Carlos Santana's up. He's the switch hitter, so he was hitting him from the left side of the plate in this instance. Aston Barr just pretty much playing in the hole between second and third base. He is a mile away from third base, so Steven Kwan is able to get down the line. And Kevin Gausman, he is so far down the line that Kevin Gausman can especially because he's a right-handed pitcher, can see him on the base paths. I just wanted to know for you, they were kind of talking about this on the broadcast. Would that get in your head whatsoever? Would that be distracting you, especially with him kind of dancing all over the place in your peripheral vision and just the mental aspect of, hey, if they have any ball in the dirt whatsoever, if I throw a slider in the dirt, fastball, splitter, whatever it may be, and Kirk doesn't handle it cleanly, since Steven Kwan is so far down the line, he's much more likely to score. Does any of that kind of cloud into your head in that instance?
It really depends on the pitcher. I played with a bunch of guys that said they hated that. They would rather have the third baseman just be around and hold them because they don't want to have the thought of, oh, if this is a wild pitch, he's in for sure. Right. I never really thought about it. I didn't really look. I was always a guy that was just locked in. So I think it really comes down to the player and sort of what they're paying attention to through their windup. Some guys love trying to pick guys off. So they've got a keen eye on where guys are on the base paths. And that's something that they play with. Other guys, they're batter focused and they really don't care what's going on the base path. So guy to guy for sure. Maybe if he is jumping around a little bit, that might get you. But yeah, overall, I think it's guy to guy, and you just have to know your pitcher and know what makes them the most comfortable.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, too, is trusting your catcher. Alejandro Kirk is so sound defensively that Kevin Gausman has the ability to still kind of attack the strike zone, throw the ball in the dirt, get some swing and miss because he is confident in Alejandro Kirk and his ability to block the baseball. Just thought that was an interesting thing because for me, I think that would kind of get in my head a little bit. Not as much that I don't trust my catcher, just as I'm about to pitch, try to lock in on the hitter. I just see Steven Kwan doing jumping jacks. Might as well have done a backflip when he's on the third base line. Just would have distracted me for sure. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that. But we do have a Series 2 preview. This kind of is the AL East weekend that we have going on here. 2 big series in a row. We'll start with the first one, obviously, against the Boston Red Sox. We'll break that down after this short break.
So, Carter, you said it. Boston Red Sox, Toronto Blue Jays, then Blue Jays Yankees. I mean, this is a huge 7-game stretch for the Toronto Blue Jays. Wins that need to be gotten. And you know what? I want to go through the pitching matchups here as we always do for the series previews, just because I do find it a little bit interesting, and I do want to hear your takes on sort of the matchups that we ended up getting here. So Jose Berrios versus Bayo, then Bassitt and Lucas Giolito, and then Eric Lauer versus Walker Buehler. I think that honestly, this is a very, very close pitching matchups when you look at these teams. I think if you just looked on paper at which pitchers you were going to choose for the win, I think it would be a little bit interesting because Walker Buehler, a guy that has not had a great year so far, ERA over 6.5. So I mean, just really not what the Red Sox were hoping to see out of him this season. But Carter, even the first 2 games, it's a pretty interesting pitching matchup anyway.
Yeah, I like the Jays in all of them. If we're talking about pitching matchups, to be completely honest, like Walker Buehler has been an absolute bomb, a human pitching machine in these last couple of outings. The one against the Angels, one against the Mariners. Like these aren't necessarily prolific offenses. I know the Angels have been on a pretty good run. They're back around 500 now. Not great timing for the Toronto Blue Jays, but again, that's down the road. We'll focus on the Boston Red Sox here. And just the pitching matchups, you also miss Garrett Crochet. That's something that I can get behind as well. We know how good that guy is. Lucas Giolito doesn't really scare me. Brian Bayo doesn't really scare me. So this is a time to take advantage of a Boston Red Sox team without Rafael Devers. Obviously, their first series at home after that trade. Alex Bregman isn't in this lineup. Carlos Narvaez was hitting 4 in this lineup recently. This Red Sox team just got swept by the Los Angeles Angels, have lost 5 in a row. So there's a lot of things that are looking up for the Toronto Blue Jays going into this series. They should be able to win 2 out of 3 and keep kind of the vibes going here. It's baseball again. I don't even know which game they're going to lose here. I think it's just going to be one of those things that we chalk up the ball. Might be a little bit tough to watch. Like it'll be kind of like the second game of the Cleveland Guardians series. Won't be a hard watch. It'll be a frustrating watch is a better way to put that. So I got the Blue Jays 2 out of 3. I'm not going to say which 2 games they win, but got to take advantage of a struggling Boston Red Sox team that really doesn't have too many players that you should be scared of right now with the way things are going.
Yeah, and you mentioned, missing Garrett Crochet because the Blue Jays are now almost certain to see Max Fried in the Yankees series.
4 out of 5. That's a gimme. I think they might miss Rodon, though, which is a pretty good substitute anyway. So
you're right.
They've been pretty lucky with some pitching matchups this year.
Very lucky. Me and you, I think, have talked about it almost every series preview. We're like, oh, we're missing their best guy. Okay, great. So, no, it is fantastic. But, it is the Red Sox. It is the Blue Jays. It is the AL East. So you never really know what's going to happen. The Blue Jays play any AL East team going back a couple of years. They have not done necessarily well, but I think it's not the Rays, it's not the Yankees, it is the Red Sox. And I think this is the time to really take advantage of the Red Sox and get some, as we talked about, what could be a tie-breaking decision is divisional wins. And I think you need to get these wins, especially against the Red Sox, especially when it comes down to, the Blue Jays really only 3 games back of the Yankees for the divisional lead right now. So you got to utilize this time, and this series and the Yankee series could be pivotal and game changing for who takes the AL East going down the stretch. So again, we're only halfway through the season, but it's something that you have to start thinking about as the All-Star break gets there, as the trade deadline starts getting there. So as many wins as you can get against the AL East teams is absolutely pivotal for this 2025 team.
Yeah, every stretch is important, but it seems like this stretch is ultra important because you got the Sox, you got the Yankees, and you got the Yankees again in like 3 weeks. You got the Tampa Bay Rays in there as well. Lots of division games. Obviously, we know how important those are. If you sweep the Yankees, so if you win 4 games in a row against them, this team's probably first in the AL East, depending on what the Rays do, obviously. But that's what happens when you sweep a team. They're losing the game as well, so you're gaining ground on them every single game. That's why they mean so much more. So just going into this Boston Red Sox series, it's not that the Boston Red Sox are this crazy, scary opponent right now. It's more so, let's keep this momentum going. Let's keep the confidence up for this New York Yankees series. And let's go on a good stretch against the AL opponents. I would love to see a 5-2 stretch here from this Toronto Blue Jays club. I'll be okay with 4-3, but 5-2, I'd be over the moon with this baseball team.
Absolutely. And just, Carter, I checked out the Rays schedule. They have the Orioles and then the Athletics for the next 2 series for them. So a little bit easier there. So maybe the Rays can get some games as well. So the Blue Jays are really going to have to fight and battle in these next couple. But in saying that, Carter, I got to run off to work. Everybody, please have a great weekend, safe weekend, Canada Day weekend for those of you who live in Canada. Be safe. don't have too many pops because me and Carter might have a couple ourselves. And enjoy some baseball. They're 2 afternoon games, a 3 o'clock game, and whatever time frame you're in. We got listeners sort of everywhere. So, but afternoon games to say the least. So enjoy those. Have some fun with it. Me and Carter for sure will. And we'll talk to everybody on Monday. Carter, any last words from you?
No, just have a good weekend. It's Canadian baseball weekend. Like, they're celebrating Canada, so why not celebrate it even more with the Toronto Blue Jays at least series win? Hopefully they can extend that into Canadian week against the New York Yankees. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys again on Monday.